It's said that after 10 years, 1,000,000 Hebrew gods will lie down in anger to punish the cruel Egyptian pharaohs, obtaining revenge from hundreds of thousands of oppressed Hebrew people, angry to bring down 10 disasters for Egypt. At the beginning, falling from the water, countless crocodiles suddenly became manic. The biological fishermen who crazily attacked the water surface were the first to bear the brunt and become victims. They have nowhere to escape. Soon the water surface was dyed red. Next is the fish that live in the water. They died overnight. Death. People have lost an important source of food. The source stream is also severely polluted as a result. Egyptian priests pray to the gods to purify the river water. However, there was never a response. Soon, these polluted water currents are rushing in. Alas, no crops were spared. The whole of Egypt is in a bloody red. The disasters that followed became even more terrifying, because after countless frogs crawled out of the water, the mighty current swept in again. Even the ships of Egyptian nobles were occupied by frogs. The nobles prayed for the artifacts to climb out of the water, make him feel that this frog is not enough to be afraid of. But the next day the frog had no food. Whole, dead and decaying corpses give birth to countless maggots and flies. In an instant, the Lebensraum of human beings is occupied by flies. The remaining food is also contaminated. Black flies and insects cover the sky and the sun. Some even got bitten to death by flies. Even the pharaoh's palace was not spared. But they are above all others. I don't care about the lives of civilians at all, focusing solely on 1 acre and 3/4 of one's own land. They just want to wait for all the frogs to be eaten up. The fly will automatically disappear. However, the following disasters, they all find it difficult to be alone. A filthy environment is the best way to die from a plague. Not long ago, the entire Egypt has been attacked by a strange disease. Even Pharaoh 1 was not spared. Her body is covered in abscesses. At this point, they found strange mosquitoes on the pharaoh's emma. Mosquito theory. These disasters were all brought down by gods. The disaster is not over yet. In the future, we will only hope that the pharaoh can reach an agreement with them earlier. The pharaoh knew that Moses had caused this, but he didn't care. Even increased the workload of the Hebrew slaves. The death toll of the Hebrews has skyrocketed. This made Moses deeply saddened. He made a deal with the gods, helping oneself. People who knew that the disaster did not awaken the pharaoh. Instead, it harms innocent civilians. He doesn't know if such a god should continue to believe. However, the anger of the gods will not cease. Soon, the next disaster is coming. At first, it was the pharaoh's emma who suddenly vomited blood and died suddenly. Even other livestock, animal corpses piled up throughout Egypt. This virus is getting worse and worse. Even the witch doctor is helpless, still trying to muddle through. He was directly hanged by the pharaoh. They prayed again to their gods. All the gods in the faith have not responded. The priestess was not spared. And the disaster is not over yet. A huge black cloud has arrived over Egypt. As the roar descended, it's all about boldly hitting the hail. People have nowhere to escape. The grain that just rose was also smashed. Moses couldn't bear to see the suffering people in his heart. I want Zebo God to stop. But the other party didn't show up and Moses angrily left here. After he left, Zebo God suddenly appeared behind him, watching Moses leave with a strange smile on his face. The next disaster will be even more brutal. A dense swarm of locusts covers the sky and the earth. Places passed by, no grass grows. The sky above the royal city is even occupied by locusts. Civilians who have lost food suffer from hunger. People suggest that the pharaoh opened a warehouse to release grain, but he didn't want to starve himself too, regardless of the life or death of the people. No problem now. People can't stand hunger. Breaking into the imperial city grain warehouse, accidentally ignited a grain fire. Let them have nowhere to escape. And the people who escaped by chance, facing the army's butcher's knife, the pharaoh showed no mercy to the people. At this point, a flash of lightning suddenly struck. In an instant, the general team turned into a bubble. Next is the 10th most terrifying disaster, refused by Moses because it was too dark. But the gods don't care. The opinions of believers instantly pierce the night, make the sky brighter. Moses felt a terror approaching. This time, the pharaoh finally felt the pain. Mom. This is one of the earliest battles in ancient military history. 19th dynasty of Egypt and the Hittite Empire fought for the rule of Syria. At the end of May 1274 BC, the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II led 2,000 chariots and 16,000 infantrymen to fight against the Hittite kingdom at Kadesh on the Orent River. The Hittite kingdom dispatched 2,500 heavy tank, with 15,000 infantry soldiers. The king's most trusted son personally oversees the battle, but Ramses led the vanguard troops to bear the brunt of the attack on the kingdom of Roti, who was caught off guard. With his command, the rain of swords pouring down from the sky like raindrops, pouring down on behalf of the kingdom, Hermione's contact caused heavy losses to the kingdom of Hedi. After the Hedi kingdom gathers its troops, Ramses' chariot troops are already in sight, instantly rush towards the defense line of their hasty ancient town. Under the command of General Moses Mansion, Will's cavalry charge into the enemy camp from the rear, ruthlessly reaping the enemy's lives. Original. At this moment, the soldiers of Ramses were silenced with a sword. He can only pull through Jiang Kung Fu. But at this point, the special kingdom has already reacted. May collide with a unique rice digger. take down the chariot in an instant. Moses, who was facing the enemy, came back to his senses. I saw a tank charging towards Ramses, seeing him dying under the wheel. Moses picked up a long spear, throw hard at the chariot. After successfully saving Ramses, continued to fight. But Ramses, who was rescued, picked up his long gun, throw it at Moses again. It was just before the army set off. The pharaoh used animal organs for divination according to tradition. I want to know if I can win this war. I can't explain it clearly to Sith. But there's one clue. In war, a leader will be saved and one day, his people will rule the country. Neither Moses nor Pharaoh cared. But Ramses kept this matter in mind. Now he has been saved by Moses. The first half of the prophecy has been applied. He suddenly felt a murderous desire. Moses seems to feel something. Look at him and quickly ask someone to take away the injured Latin American. So he also regained his life. It must be a complete victory for Egypt in the battle. Moses became a hero of the people. The pharaoh also felt that he was more suitable as a leader than his own son. But he is not the pharaoh's own son. In order to make Ramses more qualified to inherit the throne, the pharaoh asked him to inspect his ancestors. The slaves there are rebelling. And in Ramses' view, this should not be taken seriously. Successfully committed the crime, so I'm very resistant to Moses, trying to make him forget what happened on the battlefield. On the night before Ramses left, take control of Latin America in person, promised to take him on an inspection tour. Ramses said on his lips, don't mind things on the battlefield, but the seeds of suspicion have been planted. Soon, Moses came to Beding. Seeing the hard life of the slaves here, many slaves are often whipped to death for minor matters. He understands. All of this is the brutality of the rulers. Decided to go back and report to the pharaoh, dismiss his position. This has sparked resentment from the governor. This day, Moses tried to appease the emotions of the slaves, shined into the head of the slave, but the other party didn't take him seriously, until he revealed his identity. The slave elder realized what made people secretly deliver messages to him. Night. Moses came to Hebrews to pray. The sorcerer told Moses about his background. Turns out he's not an Egyptian nobleman. He was a prince of the Hebrews. In the year he was born, there are predictions that he will lead the Hebrews against Egypt. Therefore, the pharaoh of Egypt issued a decree, slaughtering all the Hebrew newborns of that year, Moses' parents, in order to save him, and secretly handed him over to his sister. The pharaoh's sister took them in, and raised Moses as his own child. He transformed into a prince of Egypt. Now he has finally returned. The elders hoped that he would lead the Hebrews out of their misery, but Moses didn't believe it at all. However, their conversation was heard by two Hebrew slaves. They want to live better. Unexpectedly told the governor about this matter. The governor not only failed to appreciate them, and dragged the two directly down. Moses returning to the king's city. But I learned that Pharaoh Wang was critically ill. Soon he was dead. Ramses succeeded the pharaoh and the governor took the opportunity to file a complaint. I have long since stopped believing Ramses, but he and Moses grew up from a young age, still treating him as his own brother. So I just exiled him, and secretly gave his sword to Moses to save his life. Moses is very grateful for this. However, the two assassins surprised and found Moses. Although he quickly resolved the two of them, but also developed resentment towards Ramses, Moses wandered to a tribe, encountered his destined partner, marry him here and have children. I thought I could live a peaceful life forever, but on a rainstorm day, Moses went straight up to the sacred mountain, in the tribe to find the sheep, fried by the debris flow skin. Between trances, he seems to see a fire. A little boy appeared in front of Moses. He claims to be a Hebrew deity. Hope Moses becomes his spokesperson. We all need to lead our people to escape from suffering. Moses can only take out his weapon again. Abandon an abandoned child. Embark on a difficult path. This pharaoh is too cruel. To build a pyramid, he enslaved 400,000 Hebrews. Let them work day and night. Heavy labor. Let them die in large numbers. The flames of burning corpses burn from day to night, burning from night to dawn again. The howls of slaves echoed throughout the construction site. The vultures that feed on decaying corpses hover for a long time. Moses was summoned by the god of Zeb. Come to the district treasure house again. Take out your own weapons. A declaration of determination officially launched the Hebrew slave rebellion, which had been oppressed for over 400 years. Ramses suddenly woke up from his dream. An inexplicable fear made it difficult for him to fall asleep. So I went alone to my son's room. Only by confirming that he is alive and well can he feel at ease. Afterwards, I came to the stable to relax. Suddenly, a sword hit his neck. It's Moses, who hasn't been seen for a long time, once a good brother, but now the swords are facing each other. Moses threatened to release 400,000 Hebrew slaves. Ramses said, slaves are always slaves. For him, it's just a bunch of lowly animals. This moment angered Moses. He is also an animal in the mouth of Ramses. Obviously the condition is that we can't reach an agreement. Moses decided to achieve his goal in his own way. Ramses knows his strength. So the next day, the army tried to search for Moses. I want to strangle him there before he's ready. But the Hebrews hid Mo. Ramses captured the innocent Hebrews, threatened them with their lives to surrender Moses. This not only did not make them compromise, instead, it aroused the resistance of Hebrews. Under the secret leadership of Moses, they gradually formed an army. Just in Tianyan, they bombed out Egypt's granaries, also attacked Egypt's grain transport fleet, attempting to persecute Ramses, but he's not under threat at all. Immediately send troops to slaughter Hebrew Tim. This completely angered the Hebrew gods. He doesn't want to wait for Moses to slowly prepare for the 10 disasters. What's wrong with punishing the pharaoh? However, after the first 9 disasters, Ramses not only did not repent, instead he started provoking the gods, and then paying my play. HBOE. Or duty personnel. This one, now this is. The deity directly fulfills his wishes. The 10th most terrifying disaster is about to fall. Moses quickly asked all Hebrews to prepare sheep blood, wipe all the doors and windows together. Ramses also sensed what was going to happen, so he held a sword and guarded his son's side. However, the shadow that obscures the sky, and the sun will spread to Egypt in the next second. Places passed by, all lights go out, all the sleeping children stopped breathing. Ramses' children were not spared either. Only the Hebrews with sheep's blood on the doorframe survived. Ramses suddenly woke up with a start. However, it is already too late. Overnight, all protons in Egypt have been slaughtered. Accompanied by the sound of mournful cries emanating from the skies over Egypt, Ramses has finally been punished. The next day, he came to find Moses with the body of the child. Accuse him of his ferocity and cruelty. Moses, don't tell him. Moses, go tell him. None of the Hebrew children died. He finally began to fear the power of the gods. Humiliated and liberated Moses, 400,000 Hebrews returned to the Holy Land of Canaan in their hearts. However, after holding a funeral for the child, the more Ramses thought about it, the more unwilling he became. Immediately summon all troops, just behind the Hebrews, prepare to massacre them completely. Moses also knew they wouldn't give up easily, so let the Hebrews go day and night, even took a dangerous mountain road for insurance purposes. This move happened to save their Ramses' chariot troops and catch up, but on narrow mountain roads, they take every step with great care. At this point, the governor's chariot suddenly tripped over a stone. He just fell off like this. The braking of the convoy behind me is not timely. Take the governor away in an instant. Then it triggered a series of car accidents. On the other side, Moses fled with his people all the way, but it was blocked by the sea, the boundless ocean before us. Later, the Egyptian army pursued closely. The Hebrews were caught in a dilemma. Moses once again requested the gods. The deity once again revealed his miracles. A meteorite landed in the sea. Then the sea water slowly receded, gradually exposing the reef at the bottom of the sea. Moses saw that he led 400,000 Hebrews to the sea. Wait for Ramses to arrive. They are almost on the other side. In order to buy time for everyone, Moses took the remaining army to intercept Ramses, just as the two armies were about to meet. Accompanied by dark clouds and storms, the previously receding seawater rushed into Moses. Seeing this, quickly let your army escape. Asat stayed alone to deal with Ramses. Here, the Egyptian army was also scared away by the floods, but all Ramses' sisters have returned. But it's still one step late. Hope is already in sight. When the Hebrews finally climbed to the top of the mountain, the huge waves swept over the Egyptian army in an instant. Hundreds of thousands of people are all buried in the sea. Moses and Ramses, who met in the middle of the sea, were not spared. 2 people floating and sinking in the huge waves. Fortunately, in the end, they all regained their lives, watching the beach strewn with corpses. I don't know, Ramses repented. Without Moses, he brought his people back to his wife's hometown. After, he went up the high mountain of the gods, carved the 10 commandments of Moses on a slate. The Hebrews will be guided by these regulations.